to survive, but, you know,
do some damage,
to do damage and
put him on the knee,
basically bring it to a draw, which if they do change this because of that knee, it becomes a victory. I think it should be a victory for him, and I think they should do a rematch.
100%.
Night, people just make excuses all they want, and they might give him no excuse. Gervonta did some great things in the ring. He just was there with another great fighter. I wasn't hitting up on no out focus and all that stuff. Gervonta always looking out the ring, looking at the screen every fight. Now all of a sudden he do a little something this fight. Oh, he ain't focused. So I ain't trying to hit that.
In their analysis of the Tank versus Roach rematch, Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather break through the clamor surrounding one of the year's most hotly contested bouts. The fight that began as a reminder to the world of why Tank is regarded as one of the most dangerous names in boxing turned into a full-fledged controversy. Months later, the debate has only intensified, particularly since Rogan came out and said that Lamont Roach Jr. was the legitimate victor of their initial encounter. The initial bout, fought on March 1st, ended in a draw by a majority. Given his reputation for vicious knockouts and his track record of eliminating opponents with minimal effort, most fans anticipated that Davis would surpass Roach. But almost everyone who was watching was taken aback by what transpired that evening. Many were surprised by the discipline and strategy that Roach brought to the table. In the opinion of many, he not only outperformed Tank Davis, but also equaled him round for round.
Three matches that you fought?
0.
What do you have to do to create enough separation where this don't happen again?
Whew, it's a good question. It's going to be based on my training camp. I have to push myself a little harder if that didn't get me the win. And I have room. I definitely have room. I'm not going to lie, I have room.
You believe you fought the best Gervonta, or do you think he got some more gears?
100% for a fact. I think he might have some more gears, but I fought the best Gervonta that night.
When Joe Rogan hosted his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, he didn't mince words. Rogan brought up the fact that Davis didn't look like himself and that Roach might have done enough to win the fight outright when talking about it. With comedian Tom Segura, Rogan remarked, "You might even say that Roach won the bout." Since then, many who already think the fight was scored unfairly have been repeating that line on social media.
Standing title fight last night between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach. I had never seen Lamont fight before, but I'm a big fan now. Fight was a draw, but it was an amazing contest, and I really hope they run it back.
Rogan's analysis was even more powerful since he connected Davis's performance to the deterioration that occasionally befalls top boxers. Even the greats eventually slow down, he said. Everyone can only give their finest performance a certain amount of times, he stated. Although he did not state that Davis is done, he did imply that the events of March might mark the beginning of a new era in which Davis will need to put in more effort than ever in order to maintain his position at the top.
Man, he got lucky as a draw. He did a good fight though. I thought he won it, but man, he gotta just create more action. That's a sparring session as far as I'm concerned. Oh my God. God damn, that's not the Gervonta I know.
The pressure has changed now that the rematch is formally scheduled for August 16th in Las Vegas. With a star like Davis, Roach no longer has to prove he belongs in the ring. Davis must demonstrate that the previous incident was an anomaly rather than a warning indication. Tank won't be able to silence detractors and rebuild trust with a narrow victory. He must be in charge. Less than that will make his future much more uncertain. However, Roach is coming into this rematch with a lot of momentum. He has already demonstrated his value as the WBA super featherweight champion. However, he now seeks validation, a decisive victory over Davis, not merely a title. Many observers and supporters already think he deserved that victory in March. Now he just needs to repeat it, this time without any uncertainty.
You see like him kind of messing with his eye, or did you have any indication that that was something that was bothering him?
No, see, and that's the thing. If you look at the whole fight, he was never bothering his eyes before
You jabbed him.
Before I jabbed him. But even that right hand that, like, you know what I'm saying, that kind of landed, he kind of rolled with it. But after that, you could see him wipe his eye. And then, right after I hit him with the jab, you could see him wipe his other eye. So it's like it was corresponding to which hand that I punched him with and exactly which eye.
However, Davis's explanation of what transpired following the fight hasn't helped his own case. He claimed that a hair product he had used prior to the fight had gotten into his eyes and affected his vision. It got so bad that his corner was spotted wiping his eyes in between rounds, which is against boxing regulations. For those who believe the fight wasn't handled correctly, the incident, like the knee in the 9th round, became yet another talking point. In order to determine whether the officiating and in-corner actions violated any regulations, the new York State Athletic Commission even started an investigation into the situation.
Honestly, I thought I should have won without that being counted a knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state, if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count. But it is what it is. I wasn't relying on that. I was relying on what I was doing in there. I think I was...
The family of Floyd Mayweather also contributed to the discussion. Floyd's uncle, former professional boxer Jeff Mayweather, shared his thoughts on the 9th round incident. He said that regardless of how strong the punch was, Davis's knee should have been declared a knockdown under the rules. "It was a knockdown if we follow boxing regulations," Jeff remarked. He underlined that the rules are straightforward. A fighter is knocked down if a blow hits and their knee contacts the canvas. Roach should have won 10-8 in the round, and the outcome would have been different if that had occurred. Roach may have left with a win on the cards rather than a tie.
You can't be a championship fighter and taking a knee and putting on those type of performances.
Also, what are they putting in his hair? That when he's sweating, it is dripping into his eye.
Voices are being heard even outside of the boxing community. In an interview with Fight Hype, American rapper and boxing enthusiast Gilly Da Kid offered a direct opinion. Few people have discussed the alterations in Tank's corner, which he brought up. Gilly noted that Kenny Ellis, a long-standing member of Davis's core staff, and longtime trainer Calvin Ford were not prominent throughout the bout. That night, the corner was being led by someone else instead. Gilly thought that change was a horrible idea. "You don't mend something isn't broken," he stated.
Gervonta had a bad night. I look for a tough fight in the next fight, but I still see Gervonta winning. I think Gervonta will win in a little easier this time. But Roach is a heck of a fighter. He's going to give everybody a hard, anybody that fights is going to give a hard time. But I do think that Davis had an off night.
I spoke to Eddie Hearn and he said he wanted to make the Shakur Tank fight straight away. Obviously now Tank's going into the rematch. That won't happen yet. But when it does happen, Eddie's still adamant that could...
He emphasized that Davis is the kind of boxer who thrives on pressure and adversity. Gilly recounted Floyd Mayweather having to approach Davis in the middle of the fight to inform him that he was losing on the unofficial scorecards in the Davis versus Mario Barrios bout. Tank was energized by that and was able to dig deep for a late stoppage victory. Gilly believes that Davis may become overconfident in the absence of such incentive, which could account for the events of the Roach battle.
That's exciting.
Yeah, man. Definitely needed a rematch. But this, I'm gonna be real, James. I think Lamont really has a good chance for this rematch. Because it's things that I've seen him, do with Gervonta that nobody else showed me, that can get out of him. Like, he was giving him a hard time, James. That knee, they didn't count. He did take a knee and walk out. Just a lot of that stuff. So,
as a result, the story now covers more ground than just what took place in the ring. It also concerns Davis's training camp, his support network, and whether altering the corner dynamics prior to a major bout was a mistake. Many fans are curious as to why Ford and Ellis weren't playing their typical roles and whether Davis was impacted strategically and psychologically by their absence. Chemistry is important after all. Additionally, it might make all the difference in boxing to have the appropriate voices in your ear throughout a battle.
Great fighters, man. Good fighters too. Great fighters. Who gonna have the edge this time?
Yeah. Not saying he gonna win though, but Lamont.
What?
He would have way. Everybody saying that he won. He won the fight. You know what I mean? You know, and then that when he took that knee, that really was supposed to be a disqualification. You know what I mean? And then you can't go to the corner and get your eyes wiped. You know what I mean? With a towel and all that. You know what I mean? Anybody else would have got disqualified.
It's interesting to note that Calvin Ford later responded to the rumors. Ford emphasized in an interview with Fight Hub TV that he is still a member of Davis's team. He simply took a step back. Ford remarked, "I'm still involved, but from a different angle." He clarified that in terms of training, nothing has changed or been damaged. He says he just spends more time with his amateur fighters now, and the system is the same. That's his tranquility for Ford. He underlined that their relationship hasn't altered and that Davis still knows where to look for him.
Something is definitely going on between Calvin Ford and Gervonta Davis. Now, we all seen that knockdown in the 9th round, but what you probably didn't see is what happened after that in between rounds. Check this out.
You guys calm down. Listen to me. Hey, come on now.
Coach Barry Hunter trained Tank for this fight with Lamont Roach, not Calvin Ford. A lot of people were saying that this performance has something to do with that. So, is something really going on between Calvin Ford and Tank Davis? Check out what Tank had to say.
For more updates, subscribe and leave a comment below.